hopefully you guys have had a great day so far. Applause. All right. That's what we like to hear. For those of you I've not met, I am Christiane Pendarvis. I am the co-CEO of Pattern Beauty, and I am on the WACRA board. I was one of the people that Kimberly mentioned. We were early in the trenches with WACRA, so this is an amazing, amazing event to see after 5 years post the founding of the organization. So I have the distinct pleasure of introducing our highlight, or one of our many highlights, but a big highlight for the rest of the day. But before that, I just want to give a huge shout out to Morgan. For those of you guys that were in the last session, just incredible. Really. It was a great reminder on the importance of how we show up, and in case you can't tell, I am a rock star. So we're about to take that conversation a step further from the importance of presence to powerful storytelling. Because when you combine presence with the courage to share your truth, you don't just show up, you stand out. And we all know we all deserve to be seen. So there's no one better to explore that than our next two guests. I'm excited to introduce them. First, our moderator, Kimberly Lee Minor, which I just have to say, Kimberly has just been amazing in building out this organization. I have never seen someone with just such resilience and such clear sense of purpose. I'm going off script. Yes, I'm going off script. But such clear sense of purpose and a reason for being on this earth. So you found your purpose and your power. Thank you. So, if you don't know about Kimberly, she is a transformational retail executive. She's the CEO of the Women of Color Retail Alliance and really a trailblazer, just championing inclusivity across the industry. And now for our guest of honor, so excited to introduce Sunny Hostin. She's the 5-time Emmy-winning co-host of The View, who is always keeping it saucy, which we love to see. She's a best-selling author, an attorney, a lawyer, journalist, entrepreneur. She's multi-hyphenate in so many different ways. She's built her career and a life on telling the truth, resilience, and representation. So together, they'll explore the power of story, authenticity, and impact. So please join me in welcoming Sunny and Kimberly to the stage.
Right, okay. I don't know how I'm supposed to sit in this, but
I know.
I left our studio in what I was dressed in.
I want those shoes. We just talked about that, let me tell you. Every shoe you told me, I was like, oh, I want to take one.
I was explaining to her we don't own the clothes that we wear on the show. We just get to borrow them, but we do own the shoes. And we get to pick 6 shoes every season, and I get part of Whoopi Goldberg's budget because she just wears whatever she feels like. So she donates her shoe budget to me, so I get really nice shoes.
You're winning.
I'm winning on the shoe game.
So when we were planning this, Gabby's here, we said we have to have a big, important name, right? If we're going to go out, we're going to go out big. And I said, I want Sunny. And Gabby said, you can't afford Sunny. So this is, I said, well, send her my bio. Like, tell her who I am. And Gabby was like, she doesn't care who you are. I said, but if you just let me meet her, she'll want to do this for us. She'll want to be here with us. And it worked out, obviously. And then we met, and it really was like that, right? It was just like we have so many things in common.
It's my pleasure to be here.
Very excited. And we were her guests yesterday at The View, and we were able to talk about WACRA there. They even let me stand up and talk to the audience, right? It was amazing.
The ladies say hello.
Yes, they are lovely. And I'm excited for this conversation because it is about storytelling and resiliency and how we get over, right? How do we get over those hurdles, right? So let me just start. You know, we share the experience of being only children, right? Both born to parents who were very intelligent, very aspirational, but because of circumstances, they poured those dreams into us, right? And so that was the first thing that we had in common. We have so much. Reading her memoir was just took my breath away because I was like, oh, wow, we should have met earlier. We would have been friends. But, you know, we've lived this life of firsts and onlys. And, you know, I often feel pride, but also like this incredible pressure. Pride because I'm opening a door that will never be closed again, I hope. But this pressure because we never want to let our parents down.
Yeah.
Hello?
It's me.
Yeah.
Now it should be fine.
Use that. You can take that off so it doesn't scare everybody. Okay. So, how has being first or only in so many rooms, I mean, multi-hyphenated, you've done so many things. How has that shaped how you approach the next room?
Oh, that's a tough one. I decided not to review the questions beforehand. You know, for better or for worse, I don't know any other way, if that makes sense. When I am the first to graduate from college in my family. I am the first to become a lawyer in my family. We have a second now. Charles just graduated last year. I was the first black female trial attorney at the Antitrust Division's honors program. I was the first, head woman of color chief of the child sex crimes unit at the U.S. Attorney's Office in D.C. I was the first female managing director at the #1 risk consulting company in the country, in the New York office. And I am currently the first and only, as far as I know, network legal correspondent. Yeah.
Let's just stop there for a minute. You hear that? Now you know why I really wanted Sunny here.
So, I don't know any other way. What I will tell you is that with each first, I have made it my mission to not be the last, because what I have learned is that in order to really succeed in your career, and I've also learned that every decision about your career is actually made when you're not in the room. Like, we think that we're making, like, you know, we're selling ourselves in these rooms, and we're showing up and we're doing the best job. And then we find oftentimes that someone else will get promoted or get a position that they are really not qualified for. Meritocracy for women, and especially women of color, is somewhat of a myth. Because we know to get where we are, we have to basically work twice as hard to get half as far. So what I have learned is that I need someone in the room when these decisions are being made that has the political capital, but is willing to spend that capital on me. And so I have made sure, now that I am in those rooms, that I spend my political capital on other women. And that, I think, is what a first does, so that you are truly not the last. Because unfortunately for some, not all, they seem to think that there is only room for one. And that's not true. And they get in the door, and they don't even leave it open a crack. My father's from Georgia, so he would say, just leave it open, the window open a crack. They won't even leave it open a crack. In fact, some of them close the door. I do not do that. And I surround myself with other firsts that do not do that. Anecdotally, for example, when I got the View job, I was not the first black lawyer on The View. Who was? Star Jones. But it was the most money I'd ever seen in my life. I'm a kid from the South Bronx projects. I grew up in abject poverty. And famous people seem to be able to get your phone number. I don't know how that happens, but Star called me and laid out what was going to be required, what it was going to feel like, the scrutiny that I was going to be under. And then Sherry Shepherd called me. And she said, how much they paying you? I was like, a lot. She was like, let's go over your deal sheet. And I started going over it, and she was like, Jenny McCarthy was paid that no, she said, I was paid that amount 15 years ago. I was like, what? She was like, yeah, no, you need to be asking for this, this, this. She, what about the car stipend? I was like, there's no car stipend on this. I mean, I had nothing. But again, these were firsts that made sure that as the second or the third, that they took care of me. So that is what I have learned, to surround myself to build a network, to surround myself not necessarily by mentors, but sponsors. And it takes a long time to do that, but I do that for a lot of people.
Well, you just illustrated something else we have in common. So people ask me all the time when I'm speaking to women, especially women, young women, how do I get a mentor? Obviously you had mentors that, this is what drove your career because of your mentors. And I said, no.
Yeah.
I've never had mentors, but I have had sponsors. I've had sponsors. And I tell every young woman or young man, you need a sponsor.
Yeah.
A mentor can just be a trusted advisor. It's someone who you trust and can give you advice, but a sponsor can make the difference.
Yes.
In your career.
And the sponsor doesn't have to be a woman.
No.
Sponsor doesn't have to be someone that looks just like you. Most of my sponsors have actually been older white men. Majority of my sponsors.
Where's Kyle? Kyle has been around with me for a very long time, and we talk about that quite frequently.
Yeah, the majority of my sponsors. They just need to have the political capital and be willing to spend it on you.
And remember that.
That's it.
Now, earlier, since we're talking about this, the fact that most of your sponsors have been white men.
Yeah.
Earlier, Anna Blue did a segment on Mean Girls.
Oh.
Yeah. Uh-huh. And yesterday, at The View, that was the conversation.
Yeah.
And what I was, so when Alyssa
Yeah.
spoke, I was like, yeah, I relate to that. But then when you spoke,
Yeah.
it took me a minute because you were the only one at the table who had a very different perspective.
Yeah, I do. I think we will all, first of all, there aren't that many women in leadership. I know, especially in your industry, you make up, over 30% of the industry, and you only have 6% of leadership, right? So the chances that you're going to have a female leader, a boss, it's about 6%. It's just not significant. But sometimes when you do have a female boss, and I've had maybe one or two, a lot of them have come through the ranks and are those perhaps that feel like there's only room for one. They feel threatened. But then there are some that worked really hard and they have so many jewels to impart. And they're not gonna make it easy for you because they know how hard it is. And that has been my experience. I didn't know it though when it was happening. I had a woman at the U.S. Attorney's Office. She was the only black female chief at the U.S. Attorney's Office in D.C., which is, they think the New York office is the most powerful one. It's not, it's the D.C. office, clearly. And she was so hard on me. Impossible. I hated her. I just, every time I walked in, I was like, there it goes. Her name was Teresa. And I get in earlier than everyone else, I'm sure most of us do. You know, you're the first one that gets there, the last one to leave. You work the hardest, you're the most prepared. But she was always there before I got there. I was like, what is happening? And she said, you want to come in and talk? And I was like, sure. And it was just peppering with questions, peppering with questions. And I really started kind of avoiding her and all sorts of things. In retrospect, I realized that she prepared me for being the head of the child sex crimes unit, because all the garbage that she had gone through, I was ready for. Like people taking your ideas and taking credit for them, saying something and then a man repeating it, repeating the exact same thing, and he gets the credit for it. She prepared me for all of that. And so I found it to be not mean love, but tough love. And I learned that later on. Alyssa's pretty early in her career. She's I think a lot of you are as well. I'm 57. She's 38. So we've got 2 decades between us. And so in her experience, she's like, everyone's mean, women are terrible, I've had terrible bosses. And Sarah Haynes, who's 48, we're all different generations on our show. Whoopi's gonna be 70 and Joy's 82. So we
Does not look 82.
No, she looks great.
Oh my goodness.
She's great. I mean, she uses a lot of moisturizers. That's like when whenever I do View Your Deal, she's like, get the serum. If it's true skin, get the serum. Get Rock Skincare. Like she slathers on. But yeah, you know, we're all different generations, and Whoopi also has been mentored by men. Whoopi is also a first of many things, and she has been my sponsor. And one last thing, I know we're totally off topic, but in terms of sponsorship, I got on The View because I was anchoring. I had my kids were, I think, 3 and 6, and I was anchoring a show that started at 2 a.m. and ended at 6 a.m. But it was seen by, oh God, yes. And it was seen by everyone in the industry. But usually shift workers, nurses, police officers, you know, people that sort of work that graveyard shift in hospitals. And Whoopi is and insomniacs. And Whoopi is an insomniac, right? She's going through menopause. So she's watching this show and she says, there's a woman in the building. It was an ABC show. And we did this thing called In the Mix. She does these hot topics. She's a lawyer. She reminds me of Star Jones. And she tells Barbara Walters, you should call her. So I get a call from Bill Getty and Barbara Walters. Whoopi Goldberg watched your show, and she thinks you can do this job. I was like, I cannot do that job. I was just like, I cannot be on that show. And that is how I got the job, because Whoopi used her capital on me. And so some people see that we have this relationship because we have, you know, we bite at each other. We have sort of that relationship, but she makes me better for it. And so I see what she has been doing for me for the past 10 years, and Alyssa's just not there yet. Because she doesn't like me because I'm hard on her.
You're hard on Alyssa?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Because there have only been 28 co-hosts, and this is a grave responsibility, especially right now. And if you're going to say something, I'm going to challenge you. I love that. Because millions of people are listening, and they want to hear voices. And so you can't say something that's not fact-based. You can't say something that you feel without real intention. And I call her on it all the time. And she doesn't know that I'm practicing tough love. She doesn't know that yet, but she will.
Well, I can see the difference in her because she used to talk over everyone, and
yes.
the things that she said. Where'd you
and
get
I barked
that?
back at her.
Yeah, but it's great
And
because she's gotten
she's
much
learning.
better.
She's learning, so she'll see one day.
Okay, so that's a different perspective because I will say this: we are contemporaries.
Yeah.
And most of the women who were mean to me, I don't see that. I don't ever have to see them again.
Yeah.
So I guess
Teresa.
I'm not as evolved. So let's talk about navigating identity, right? And how to show up as yourself.
Yeah.
Because every time I've been interacting with you, it's this person that you're meeting right now. So, you know, we understand the nuances of code switching and the burden of representation, right? But so how do you stay rooted in your authenticity while navigating these institutions? And even now, with everything that's going on, it's just so difficult, right? It's constantly, you have to edit and think about what you're going to say and how you walk into the room. How are you managing that?
It's tricky, if I'm being honest. What I will say is earlier on in my career, I've always been a rules follower, believe that or not. That's what made me a good prosecutor. You know, the law for me is pretty black and white. That's what the statute says, and I plug the facts into the formula, person's guilty. It's pretty easy for me to follow rubrics and paint within the lines. But as I've gotten older and seasoned, I realized sometimes someone else painted those lines, and they don't apply to me. And maybe they painted them incorrectly, actually. And maybe those lines are putting me in a box. And so what I've learned, I graduated from law school in '94. So I'm sure some of you probably weren't born then. But so I've been a lawyer for over 30 years. I've learned that I sometimes have to shake it up. I have to challenge things, not necessarily break the rules, but bend them. I have to get out of my comfort zone more often than I used to be used to. And in terms of authenticity, I learned from various mentors, not sponsors, but mentors, that no one can do me the way I do me, and that I really can't try to be someone else because everyone knows it, For example, when I got to CNN, I was at CNN for a while, and Soledad O'Brien was doing her In America series, and I mean, she was like killing it. And when she left, she actually took that series with her. She's a very good friend of mine now. But I cut my hair, I dyed my hair, I straightened my hair. I mean, if you looked real quick, I looked just like Soledad O'Brien. And I started listening to her taped pieces and using her voice. And it was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. I mean, she's some kid from California. I'm like a kid from the South Bronx projects. I mean, it was so ridiculous. And the minute I stopped doing that, I was sort of discovered, and it was during the Trayvon Martin trial, during the trial of his murder. And I was like, I can't just sit there and do this. I'm a mother of a black boy. I'm a lawyer. I see what's happening, and I just started speaking authentically from the heart. I was reporting, of course, speaking about the law, but I also learned in that moment that my lived experience is actually my superpower. That is actually the superpower, that I can see things from a different lens, and not everybody has that lens. They don't have the lens growing up in abject poverty. They don't have the lens of being bilingual. Spanish is my first language. They don't have the lens of growing up in the late 60s, early 70s with parents of different races. No, they don't have that lens. And once I started being that authentic person and bringing that to each and every job, each and every shot, each and everything, all of a sudden I was like on the cover of like magazines, like the new it girl. I've been around for a long time. And I think that's what authenticity does for you, because everyone is truly authentic and different. And if you try to be somebody else, then you just won't be successful.
I appreciate that because, I was in corporate America, and sometimes you can't say what you have to say. And now in this role, I get to say whatever I want, right? And
Feels
oftentimes,
good.
so my editor's in the back, my husband Mark, because I will write something and he'll say, "Oh, you're really not going to say that, are you?"
Yeah, I am.
And I'm
gonna
like,
say
"Oops,
it.
I already sent it."
Yeah. Let's say it. It's funny. We do have that in common as well, because my husband will come home. He's really straight-laced. And he's like, "I heard at the hospital today that you said something the other. that was just for home. I was like, no, I was planning on saying that all along. Like I planned on saying, if I'm saying it to you at home, that's how I feel. I'm going to say it at work. Right. And it's just very interesting because I think, we are so used to code switching and we are so used to playing within the rules. But I can tell you that, I'm around a lot of very famous, very successful women especially, and none of them have played by the rules. None of them have been inauthentic. They've all taken chances. And I have learned much more from my failures. I was fired from CNN after 1 year. They rehired me, but I was fired at first. And I learned more from that failure. That was my first, it wasn't the first time I've been fired. I've been fired a lot. But that contract non-renewal taught me more than every time my contract gets renewed at The View.
Right, because you know what to, how to see it differently.
Yeah.
So I've been given the 5 minutes. So
I'm
I
sorry.
know we could
too
talk
much.
for 2 hours. No, this is great. So let's talk about entrepreneurship because we have a mix here because of everything that's happening. People are going into entrepreneurship if they're not being seen, right?
Yeah.
So
correct.
how else can I do what I love, right? I'm going to do it for myself. So
Why do I know you? I don't have I don't have glasses on with the green. Yeah. Yes, I saw her. I
knew
need glasses.
I was wondering when she was going to bring in the AKA thing.
I need glasses. I'm too vain to wear them, but I can kind of see.
That's awesome. So you have a Why Not Me, right? Clearly, right? There's a Why Not Me.
Yeah.
And we know the multi-hyphenate, and you're an entrepreneur. You have Alma's Blend. And
SunnyHostinWines.com.
SunnyHostinWines.com. Check it out. Check it out. So what's been your biggest lesson in that space?
That you have to give it a try and not be so afraid of failure. I remember when I was actually headed to cover something terrible that was happening, because I'm a social justice reporter as well, right? So whenever there's something terrible going on, I get sent. And I was going to the bookstore at the airport, and I wanted to read a beach read, like an escape, because I don't read serious stuff when I'm traveling to cover serious stuff. And, when you want to read a black book, what do? You go and you start looking at the covers, and you see the picture of the black woman on it. And I went to I went to Hudson News, and then I went to a bookstore, and I didn't see any of that. And I had just finished reading, for like the 10th time, Stella Got Her Groove Back, or by Tracy McMillan, and then I read Crazy Rich Asians, and I'm like reading all this stuff. I'm like, I can't believe there are no beach reads, like centering around like women of color, multi-generational. And I got on the plane and I started writing, like just a rubric, just like a little plan. Hadn't really thought it out. I thought I would talk about Black beach communities, escapism, and I sent it off to my agent, and he's like, "These are books, man. You could write fiction books." I was like, "I can't write a fiction book," and he said, "Let's do it." And I had like a 3-book deal in a week, and then I had to write, and I freaked out. I had a little bit of a panic attack, but I worked through it and I did it, and it became a New York Times bestseller. Most books sell 5,000 copies. They kept on telling me during the lifetime of the book, if you sell 5,000 copies, you'll get on the New York Times bestseller list. So I was like, I'm going to sell 5,000 copies. That was my goal. 25,000 copies first week.
Wow.
And I was terrified. I was like waiting by the phone, like, oh my God, no one's going to read it. And it's getting over that fear as an entrepreneur, right? Getting over that. There's barrier to entry. Like, there are so many books out there. There are so many wines out there. Why would somebody choose mine? Maybe it's not good enough. All those questions that keep entrepreneurs up at night, I say, yeah, all of those things are true, but why not you? My son's an entrepreneur, actually. So I paid a lot of money for Harvard, and he's like, I don't know what he's doing. He's like entrepreneurialing, selling like little packs of things. I don't know, but I set him up to do that because I was like, if not you, who else? So I think that the key to being an entrepreneur is being fearless and being okay with failure. No is the first answer on the road to yes. I really believe that. And I have been told no more times than I've been told yes. But the yeses have mattered. I went to 3 publishing houses, 2, no, I don't get it. I don't get it. The third one said yes. And now I've got actually another book coming out.
My last question with you.
Sure.
What is your personal theme song?
Oh, wow. Well, you know what I listen to before I step out on set? Do you know that Mary J. Blige song, Just Fine, Just Fine, Just Fine? Ooh! Yeah, that's what I listen to, that I'm just fine. Yeah. Like I'm enough, and I'm just fine. And when I look in the mirror, I like what I see. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Me too. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you. Thank you.